So I wanted to take this time to include a very special final interview for Author Awareness. I came across the final writer because I have been following his YouTube channel for a number of years. Dave Cullen, host of The Dave Cullen Show, is a tech journalist and sci-fi film critic. He is very knowledgeable, especially in the prescient subject of artificial intelligence and its impact on society and the creative arts. When I found out he published a new book, I reached out to him through Twitter or X or Twix or whatever you want to call it, and I asked if he'd be interested in doing an interview for the show. Thankfully, he said yes, so here he is talking about his new title, Deus v Machina. Dave, welcome to the show. Tell me about your work on your book and what it is that you write.
Well, Garrett, thanks for having me on. First of all, well, I've been I was a tech journalist for many years, and then I dabbled with film and television reviews, pop culture reviews. So I eventually started just doing more of that, and that sort of took over. And at some point, I started in, I guess I became like many people, sort of frustrated with where Hollywood was going, and I guess I wanted, and I felt, hey, look, I think I can have a go at writing my own story, and I for a long time I felt I had at least one novel in me, and hopefully I have more now. But I had an idea back in 2019, and it came to me, as I tell people, almost kind of fully formed one morning, one afternoon, and I just hit the record button on my microphone and just started talking and described maybe 2 or 3 minutes of a description of this story. It's changed a lot since then over the years, but I only got around to actually writing it in late 2023 and finished it in November of last year. So we're in March 25 now. So it's out a few months. It's called Deus v Machina, a Cody Stockton mystery. And it's a sci-fi noir detective mystery with Christian elements as well. It's very much a story that blends multiple genres and explores topics like artificial intelligence and man's relationship with technology, but also spirituality. And so if you like stories that are, start off as maybe it's a benign enough sort of mystery, but then evolves into a wider conspiracy, and the protagonist finds himself caught in way over his head in something very sinister and very big. And there's also some very earth-shattering events and twists along the way, and interesting characters. There's a bit of action in there. There's even a little romance in there. But there's a lot to keep you hooked in, to keep you guessing. I think you might enjoy the book.
That's awesome. Well, I've already got my copy. I downloaded it on Kindle, and I started reading it earlier this week, and I'm loving it. The prologue has me hooked in, and I'm eager to see where the story goes. Obviously, you said that you started off as a tech journalist. How'd you get into writing in general? Like, what was this something that you had always wanted to do, or you just kind of fell backwards into the journalism side, and then that segued into the writing?
Yeah, I think it was. I mean, obviously, when I make my videos, sometimes I do them off the cuff, but a lot of the time I script my videos. So I'm writing. The process of writing and communicating, I suppose, is like telling a story in itself, kind of. So I think there's a lot of people who are journalists who maybe they write on a blog or might on a news site, and they sometimes dabble in fiction. And I think that's a natural progression of someone who writes a lot, but wants to also maybe go into something else and try their hand at telling a story. So that was really it. The motivation was I love science fiction. I love storytelling. I love reading. I'm not a massive reader, but when I do, I'm very selective of what I do read, and what there's only so much bandwidth for my attention, I suppose. So I figured, yeah, like I could see this story, I could see it as a novel, and I'm hoping now that with the success of this book, it seems to have gone over, I think, relatively well. I think it's generally well received. That there'll be more. Hopefully,
Yeah,
it'll be a series.
so obviously science fiction has a huge influence for you. And watching your videos, you have a deep love for Star Trek in particular. What have been some of your other big influences in the creative process for this book?
Well, for this book, I wouldn't say there would be an awful lot of maybe literary influences, but yeah, I've always liked stories that explore our relationship with I guess the unknown or God or spirituality or whatever it is. And this is a question of, for the main character, it is a question of faith. This is a man, Cody Stockton, who's lost his faith. He's gone through this. There was this terrible sort of AI war that he was in, which I'll actually delve a little bit more into in the sequel, which I'm sort of slowly beginning. But I suppose in terms of influences, I suppose thematically there might be some overlap with films like Signs, from M. Night Shyamalan, because I really liked it. It's a film that I've talked about on the channel before. It's about a man who rediscovers his faith and discovers that there's no coincidences in life. There's one book, there's one film in particular. Again, it's not in any way connected to this genre. It takes place in an insane asylum. It's a film called The Ninth Configuration with Stacy Keach. I don't know if you've ever seen that film.
Heard of it?
Yeah, it's a strange one. It's a very, very unusual. William Peter Blatty is the director. It's a very strange movie in a good way. It blends so many genres together. It starts out as a comedy, and then gradually it turns into a drama. Then it has horror elements. By the end, you're kind of uplifted, and but that explores like the theme of, why does God allow evil? Why does a good God allow bad things to happen to good people, and why do we live in such an evil world and fallen realm? And I touch on a little bit of that, I suppose, in this book.
Awesome. So, obviously, you touched on the like the proofreading and the self-publishing route and all that. What has been one of the biggest challenges that you face in the creation of Deus V Machina?
I think, yeah, it's interesting. It's like anything else. I suppose it's like any form of art or filmmaking or whatever it might be. What you see in your head, or what you think the story will look like, you do your first draft and then you realize, God, that was dreadful. It's like, by the time you get to your second draft, you look back and you go, who wrote? You go back and you read the early chapters and go, who wrote this? It's just disastrous. So that
Yeah,
was actually a good thing, because I didn't know, Garrett, like, if I could do this. It's like anything else. It's sort of like, when you hear like a sports team, that this is probably a bad analogy, but someone who's like, they've never won the championship before, but they're really close, and they don't know if they can do it until they've done it. And any kind of achievement where you do something like this, which is significant enough, which is writing a book, you don't know you can do it until you've done it. And I suppose that was the key thing is, now that I've done it, the second one, I'll have a very different relationship to the writing process when I'm writing another book. I have subsequently written a nonfiction book since publishing this, but it's like, when you've done it, now it's like, okay, that's something I know what it's like to bring it from beginning, middle to end. I think that one of the most challenging aspects of writing fiction is that you're trying to hold together a narrative over tens of thousands of words over what is a very large document. And that's why you need feedback, because somebody who's separated it from it, because you're too close to your work, and someone who's reading, and a third party is going to pick up on the areas where it's starting to fall apart at the seams. And so the pacing and the characterization, the tone of it, where the story's going at the beginning, say the first third of the book or first quarter of the book, is that still consistent? Is it, or has it moved in the right way by the end of the book? Is the story still making logical sense as we progress, or is at some point, is it starting to fall apart at some stage? This is the biggest challenge, I think, for me. It's just a huge piece of work to manage. And so again, the feedback I got from friends was invaluable.
So, if you had any advice for other would-be authors out there, what would you share with them?
Firstly, start writing. The biggest challenge is like, my fiance, like, she really pushed me to, just because I've been talking about this book for years, and she said, just write the freaking book, although she didn't say freaking. So she really pushed me, and that's the first thing, and keep a diary, grab a pen and paper when inspiration strikes. Never find yourself lying in bed, an idea comes to your head and go, I'll remember that in the morning. No, you won't.
I made that mistake.
So yeah, or have something, even your you don't need a dictaphone. You can have your phone and just record your voice. So lots of things like that. I think the key is just to start writing. And if you feel that the novel is too big, as the first project, that's no problem. There's things called novelettes. There's novellas, right? You don't have to write 50, 60,000, 80,000, 100,000 words. But at least have a crack at it, and if it sucks, it sucks. No, but like just make sure that you get feedback, and also don't be afraid of it. Don't take it too don't take it all too personally, because it sucks when people rip your stuff apart.
Oh yeah.
But
Oh yeah.
you do have to start. You do have to start. Yeah.
So, Dave, we're getting ready to wrap up here. How can people connect with you? How can they get copies of Deus v Machina? What are the best methods for doing that?
Well, yeah, the book is available on Amazon, Deus v Machina. I sometimes do get confused with another author of the same name. There's another Dave Cullen. He's an American guy. So he writes nonfiction, so he's not me. So I have to go to all these places, these different websites, and tell them, will you please unlink my book from his name? But anyway, so but you'll find Days v Machina on Amazon. It's on lots of other sites too. It's on Barnes and Noble and whatever. You'll find it on Apple. There's also the audiobook. It's not on Audible just yet, but it's on lots of other places. You'll find it in paperback. And it's also on my website, which I'll give you the URL, so davecullenshow.com. And also if you want to follow my YouTube, that's just the Dave Cullen Show. So yeah, there you go. That's where I'm at. And I'm on X, used to be formerly Twitter. So that's Dave Cullen Show is the handle on X.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Dave. It's been a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thanks, Garrett. Appreciate it.
A big thank you to Dave for being this final interview of Season 7. Now, if you're interested in connecting with him through YouTube, social media, or getting copies of his books, you can find those links down in the video description. If you want to watch the uncut, unedited version of this conversation, consider becoming a supporter on Patreon for as little as $1 per month. Now, on with the rest of the awards.